People have been gathering in Minneapolis, roughly 10 miles, give or take, from where George Floyd met his brutal death, actually, at the hands of Derek Chauvin. In fact, that trial is taking place right now, with the Chauvin being in the basically being charged with murder charges, I think second degree and third degree murder. 10 miles away, while the police try to cut bait and act as if Derek Chauvin is the only person in the world that ever behaves that way, when really Derek Chauvin is not necessarily a once-off. Derek Chauvin is a norm, and that's, if anything, is an unfortunate aspect of this trial. Not so much that Derek Chauvin may actually get convicted, more so that he gets convicted and people act as if he was the only one. As if he was the only one. There's been another killing that has taken place. Daunte Wright. Daunte Wright is 20 years old. And the 20-year-old met his end at what has been called an accidental discharge. I'm going to show you the video. I honestly don't tend to watch these. This is maybe the first one that I've watched. I might have seen maybe only part of the Floyd video, just about how horrible it is to watch stuff like this. I don't like to see snuff films. And so having this where one black man or boy in many respects gets killed over and over and over again by people who just flagrantly disregard the humanity of the individual. Yeah, that's not necessarily something that thrills me to watch, nor does it thrill me all that much to even talk about. This very particular one, though, it's on some level, strangely enough, even more devastating. Meaning there's an aspect of it when there's a certain degree of hatred associated with it, where there's a certain inhumanity, where you just kind of ignore the fact that that's an individual or person that's that's at the bad end of your boot, to phrase it a particular way. But there's something almost even worse about it when it's accidental. When it's accidental. For one, there's all sorts of questions that I have about the video that I want to show. Why are you stopping him? Why are you pulling him out of your car? Why are you processing this guy? It's a minor traffic violation, and yet you have a show of force by like 3 or 4 officers that are basically approaching and surrounding him. He tries to get back in the car and run. And yeah, you can make a case that says, yes, that's not something that you probably should do. And in trying to get in his car and run, one of the officers grabs the wrong weapon. And instead of hitting him with a taser, shoots him at point blank range with her gun, her sidearm. As he drives away, goes for a few blocks before careening into somebody else's car. 20 years old. There's something about it that's even worse when it's not intentional. Meaning, Chauvin had his knee on Floyd's throat for 9 minutes. And whether Chauvin was trying to do it or not, Chauvin didn't give a shit about the other individual that was below him. And you can imagine if he did it to Floyd, he would do it to pretty much anybody on the streets. That was his default. And I would make the case that that's the default of most officers. They'll but go the grace of God go I would imagine most of them looking at what is taking place in regards to the Chauvin trial. Yeah, they're trying to cut bait with Chauvin and act as if bad apple, we're all around the bad. No, it's not a bad apple. But this issue wasn't even a bad apple issue. And in a weird way, it makes it worse. Because it makes it like a quirk of fucking fate. It's, God damn it, dude, don't do that. And I know some people try to make this argument that the fact that the guy ran somehow justifies it. Bullshit. Look, all of us, on some level, have to deal with shit on our jobs that we don't necessarily want to deal with. If I write bad code and my company gets hacked, I can either get sued, definitely will lose my job. If a person is working at some kind of nursing facility and they inject a person with the wrong amount of medication and kill that person, yeah, there are going to be consequences for that person doing that. If I do surgery and I screw up, I can get arrested if I get that person killed and I was doing something that I had no business doing. Or for that matter, if a kid takes a dump in my urn, a dead cat that I loved greatly while I'm working as a substitute teacher, and I punch that kid for doing so, I could go to jail for that. All of us have things that we deal with on a bad day. she was dealing with this kid, which ended up making her have a bad day because she has to deal with this kid on her job. And in the same way that you would expect a basic modicum of competence for just any capacity, anything that you do, and you have to deal with it, to have some level of grace in the way that you deal with your job. And like I said, competence. Competence wasn't being displayed here. I'm going to show you the video. Like I said, on some levels, more aggravating that it was a fuck up. It's more aggravating that it was a fuck up. God, he shouldn't have ran. But that shouldn't take his life. And I think that's the thing that people need to kind of get their heads around. That shouldn't necessarily legitimize his ending of existence. Just because you might say mechanically that looks bad because that cop is a maniac. Well, the fact that you say that cop is a maniac and you kind of know that doing that risks his life because that cop is a maniac, then your society should do something about that. That shouldn't be okay. And that just shouldn't be okay. It shouldn't get this kind of weird pass that it continually gets. Cops kill 1,000 people a year. And I don't know why anybody thought that there wasn't going to be a killing before that case was over with when cops kill 1,000 people a year. And only 1%, or let's say 33% of that 1% goes to jail. Chauvin may be that one out of the 1,000 that goes to jail, but that's only because they're cutting bait. I'm going to show you this video. This video is aggravating, and like I said, it's devastating because, again, accidental discharge is what they're calling it. And look, they gave you the body cam footage. There's questions to be raised about why are they dragging this kid out of the car like this, and why are they pulling this kid over? Supposedly it's a minor violation, but why the show of force like this? I mean, like, it's so over the top. And yeah, why is she so incompetent that she doesn't know the difference between her taser and her gun? And just like any other job where a person would have had a bad day because of something that took place, just because they have a bad day doesn't necessarily mean you get a pass when you royally fuck up in the way that this was royally fucked up. Welcome to the soapbox. And by the way, warning, the video is graphic. Hey, I'm here at Mount. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. This content has been brought to you by you, and I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to do it. I hate doing these videos because I feel like there's never a resolution. I don't have this belief there's such thing as justice. Justice for who? How do you ever recoup that kid, recoup that mom for that kid that was blown away? Tamir Rice. How do you ever balance the scales on that? You couldn't even put that cop in prison, even if the cop got cancer and suffered every day of his life and it burst hell wide open to spend an eternity in hell. It doesn't balance the scales for that mom and that kid, losing that kid in that way. There's no such thing as justice. It's a myth. It's the thing that you try to shoot for that you're never really going to hit because people view those things in such drastically different ways, even within the context of the person who's in the experience. Right here. This is the body camera footage. I'm stopping right here because she's about to murder him. She's about to take his life. He tries to get back into the car. He tries to run. She doesn't believe he should run. She pulls out her taser and she starts screaming, "Taser! Taser! Taser!" or whatever she's saying. It sounds like she's saying greasy or something, but supposedly she's saying taser, which, look, rationally it makes sense, right? You want to stop the person. You don't want to murder the person. All things being equal, unless she's a psycho, incompetent, but nothing is telling me that this woman is psycho. And she's screaming it so her partners and people can get clear. Because my first thought when I watched this, I was like, wait a minute, she could shoot her partners. Why the fuck is she going to shoot her own partners like this? But what she's screaming is for them to basically get away. And then she fires. At the end of it, she says, oh shit, I shot him. Something to that effect, I'm paraphrasing. But at the very end of this clip, she says, oh shit. That was my gun, basically. I shot him. I killed him. I killed that kid. I killed that kid. I murdered that kid. And she's saying taser, taser. I'm just going to fast forward. Oh shit! Right there. Oh shit. Because at that point she realized, at point blank range, I just shot that unarmed black kid that is now in the car careening away. Careening away. Great. Brooklyn Center Chief Tim Gonin comes out and says the following.
As you can hear, the officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts, taser, taser, several times. That is part of the officer's training prior to deploying a taser, which is a less lethal device. That is done to make her partners aware, as well as the subject, that a taser deployment will be imminent. During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. So if you're right-handed, you carry your firearm on your right side and you carry your taser on the left. This is done purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I've viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
Yes. Yes. You can hate it. Clearly, I don't think anybody is loving it. But she fucked up. And in her fucking up, that kid lost his life. By the same token, that kid made her job that much more difficult. Meaning, look, I don't know what the fuck was going on with that traffic stop. I do know when I see videos like that, and I see the person starts reacting like that, I think, oh my God, that kid is about to die. Those people are maniacs. That's what I think. Now, there's something wrong in a society where the peacekeepers are considered widely to be maniacs. And maniacs in such a way that situations like that often end up with that person, regardless of whether or not they have anything on, meaning from the standpoint of a weapon, and in some cases, not even having clothes on, will lose their life. That 20-year-old wasn't fighting them back. I want to be very clear about that. He wasn't attacking them. He was literally trying to escape. Fight or flight. He wasn't fighting. He was trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. Whatever was plaguing him, whatever was bothering him, that is an aspect of the job to which they do. You can't look at an aspect of the job to which they do and say it is legitimate to murder that kid because of that. It is not. By the same token, it was a fuck up. And I think that's where my issue comes in with this, right? It's so senseless. Like radically so. And it's not even somebody functioning with intent of, I am going to do this. Like Chauvin, on some level, I'm going to murder this motherfucker. Whether you try to do it intentionally where he made the conscious will, if you put your knee on somebody's throat for that long, yeah, you're going to murder that motherfucker. And that's exactly what he did. And Chauvin just so happened probably have done this day in and day out for years on end. And this particular day, for whatever reason, it went long. And he murdered. What about this? What about this? She was probably baking brownies that morning, thinking about what she was going to have for lunch or dinner that night, gets into this scuffle, which, look, I would imagine these scuffles happen. And I think that's kind of my problem with people saying, okay, well, it legitimizes it. It doesn't. It's an aspect of the job that you just have to deal with. A basic level of competence. That kid goes home. That kid goes home. Like, yeah, it's awkward. It's weird. And it's weird to me, like I said, because there's no intent. There's no conscious will of trying to inflict damage and injury. It's, oh God, I fucked up and chose the wrong weapon. Oh shit! It's that. And so, whatever you hit her for, I suppose you hit her for that, being incompetent. But that's I don't know, it's unsatisfying on some level. It's like I said, it feels senseless. It feels like a wasted death. And yeah, she might have been the avatar of delivering that potential, that wasted death. But it's not necessarily something she wanted to. She fucked up. That fuck up is going to haunt her for the rest of her life, not to mention the legal consequences that are associated with it. And he makes a point, an accidental discharge. Yeah, that doesn't feel good. That's all. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.